Rafter P Construction is the design-build contractor for all of your construction needs. Quality and customer satisfaction will always remain our top priority. The American dream has inspired the Rafter P team to push to be community leaders and support the local youth because that is our future. Let's now talk with the founder and owner, Brad Pryor.
Hey guys, today we're going to talk about a little bit different subject than normal. Been talking about the barn doors, construction, all the other stuff we've been doing at Rafter P, but I got my boy Rob here, wildlife management degree, right?
Wildlife management,
There you go. You've heard about him on the radio, and here he is in person. You got that ginger on too. He's not a ginger though. He's blonde-headed.
Beard.
But anyway, so we're going to talk about laying out like deer pens today, fawn pens. And since you're the specialist and you know all about this, you kind of keep Brad Pryor out of trouble when he opens his big mouth, and we're going to do all that. Hey, Brad, no, we got to do this and that. But when we show up on site, we're looking at a project together, what is the first thing we're looking at or hope we don't see first?
Yeah, I think more times than not, we go to a project to look at it, and these people have already built deer pens and think they never would have built a facility. Right. But I think regardless of your initial budget, you need to build your deer pens with your facility in mind someday.
Right.
Just in case you ever want to build one. And I mean, that's the biggest thing we see, because that when you start laying out gates, that matters which way they're going to go to that facility, and you want that facility to, all those gates to feed into the right places and go to the right alleyways. And
so, because everything about with deer, flow's the most important thing. Less stress, and the biggest thing we always talk about is if there's already pens and we're out there, they want a facility now because, a lot of people don't have that in their budget at first. Right. They're going to dart everything in a pen. They're going to work them out there in a pen, blah, blah, blah. But, it helps us because of elevations. Because once some pens are built, we can't, if you got a waterway coming through your pens, number one, that's probably not a good idea about pens there. But number two, you don't want to build a facility in the middle of a waterway. You don't want to build in a low spot. So, in my opinion, we've always talked about is, so we want the pens in the highest and the facility itself in the highest spot of the property, the driest spot of the property, because that you're not fighting water, and you can't fix when you build pens on existing grades and existing water flow. You cannot correct that when the pens are there without taking them down. Right. But so with the flow and elevations in mind, why is that so important to a deer? I mean, stress, obviously, but, people are in this to make money, right?
Right.
So if you're putting stress on them, you're affecting them. That's,
I mean, you want to take that into consideration, because, like, when you're running them up to the facility, you want to be stress-free and not bouncing off fences, and you want it to go as smooth as possible, because every time that you lose a deer, you're losing money.
Right. And would you say they're probably one of the most fragile animals to mess with?
Oh, for sure.
So stress is
they're born looking for a place to die.
Yes,
for sure.
And we were just talking about this today. We're in a facility that we built in Bear, Texas, and the lady that's in here that's over the fawns and stuff. She was stressed out about a fawn, and it's just they come here and like they don't know.
Yeah, they're not in their natural environment.
No,
so
not at all.
You try to make it as comfortable as possible for them.
Right. So, design all that stuff too there. And then what's so important about when you have your layout, you have all this stuff working your way up, all those gates, when you're looking at a facility, you have an exit, in one spot where when they're in the facility and they want to leave to go back in the pens or a sick pen or whatever. There's so many different mixtures we can do.
Yeah.
They also got to exit to be loaded out one day if they need to be hauled or transported, what have you. But being introduced into the barn to me is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
That's where all the crosswires go crazy and the gates and
because that's the highest stress time, is when they're coming into this barn and it's new to them, and you really want to just make it as easy on them as possible. And the biggest thing that I've seen in facilities is keeping that sweep coming into that barn so they can get away from you and hide.
Well, they feel like they're in a natural environment.
Right.
They give them the easiest way to get rid of any fear they have.
Right.
And you don't want to feel like you're taking them somewhere, and you're not trying to hurt them or do anything wrong. You're just trying to get them there where you can eventually take care of business to get another fawn out of them for next year.
Yeah.
So so with fawn pens, those are basically built most of the time off the facility, or what's the plus?
It's kind of half and half, but I think if you build them off the facility, it's a better idea because that way you can really incorporate raising them into, you can bring them in the barn when they're little fawns and they can get used to coming through the boxes and the chute and stuff. And when you put them out in the pens, it'll be a lot easier on them because they're like, hey, I know this place. So it's nothing to be scared about. So
closer to their environment.
Right.
They're not in a box. They're not in a air conditioned, which is nice to us as humans, but to them, they're just used to living in nature. So the fawn pens to me are just give them more of an environment feel where they're not so stressed out. They're getting over their illness or what have you that's going on with them, and give them closer to get attention to whatever's going on with them.
It's so much easier to bring them inside and medicate them and whatever you need to do with them.
So. You need to cool them off or warm them up, whatever. Like there's so many things going on when you're sick. You're trying to control all those things, and nature doesn't allow that to happen. So, but I think that's a great asset to having you on the team. Is I can build. I'm more the horse cow guy. You know what I mean? And when it comes to deer, I like hanging out and shooting deer and having a good time and looking at beautiful deer. But even in the exotic world, which we're getting into more and more every day. But I feel like it's cool to be able to do all this, having somebody on a team like you that can lead me through it without getting myself in trouble. You know, or leading somebody the wrong way. And it's an investment, so we want to make sure their dollars make sense to everything that they're raising. So I hope this helped. There's going to be a lot more about deer farming because we got some big surprises coming up, but we're not quite released yet. But you'll be seeing a lot of us in the near future. So we'll talk to you soon.